Hello, everybody. I'm not drinking on the stream. It's brought to you by kombucha. So, anyway, hope everybody's doing well. It's been a rough couple of days. Yesterday, I did a very detailed video about exactly what happened and why it happened. A lot more still needs to be uncovered, but we'll figure it out. But today it's Q&A time. We're going to look at this bull run compared to other things. We're going to compare Bitcoin to AI again in a different way, and so much more. Thank you for coming, by the way, to our brilliant TD Tesla Shondi K8 best moderators in the business, and Martello, Doc Intern, Angle Blackson, and Buckhorn. Let's get into Satoshi's epic rug. Or is there one? So, and of course, never financial advice. Oh, we'll look at some option stuff too. And all the questions come from Patreon. Before I jump in, though, I do want to share a quick poll I did last night to gauge the temperature of the room. And I plugged this up, and we had nearly 5,400 respondents. The question is, what's going to happen? Are we looking at a 1 week V-shaped recovery for crypto, or a 2 to 4 week slow climb, or 5 to 7 weeks patience required, or the bull market's over 13.8%? The winner is V-shaped recovery. You know why? 40%? Because that's what we've seen happen over and over and over again the last year and a half. So sometimes you don't want to necessarily agree with crypto Twitter, but today might be one of those days. Anyway, let's get into the first question. I just want to share that because we're seeing huge moves already today out there. The recovery is on. First question is from Fat Bat. Hey, James, long-time listener, first-time caller. I feel that Satoshi kept his allocation to keep the network from ever becoming fully centralized. But tinfoil hat me thinks, what if he has a limit order to sell 500,000 or 1 million Bitcoin to have the ultimate rug pull on people? What do you think the odds of this are? Great question. And I like the way you think. I'll show you in a second. But I'm going to put you at ease first of all. I think it's impossible for 3 reasons. One, you can see here, blockchain transparency, everything is recorded on a public ledger. That's the beauty of crypto and Bitcoin. And he has 1.04 million Bitcoin, and they are held in well-known early mined addresses that the entire crypto community monitors constantly with bots, alerts, analytical tools, etc. You cannot make a peep without thousands of people knowing about it. And any attempt to move these coins to set up a limit order would be detected instantly, triggering market chaos long before any sale could execute at a specific price like $500,000 or $1 million for Bitcoin. And when you have so many, you don't need to sell it anyway. But anyway, moving on. Limit orders also require custodial transfer, which can't be hidden. To place that limit order, you need to move it somewhere, and they have to put the mechanism in place by which to sell it. So that's not going to happen, and no limit order exists. And finally, this is interesting. There is no native mechanism for automated price-based sales without oracles. And Bitcoin scripting language is a little too limited to implement a self-executing limit order based on off-chain price data. It would require an external oracle, and such a hidden rug pull mechanism is antithetical to what Satoshi left us, and technically unfeasible without being picked up by network observers. However, I do want to say one thing. I always say ABP as like ABL. Always be learning, always be paranoid, all these corny phrases I come up with. I like the way you think. Always question everything. Always be suspicious of everything. Even if it is a tiny 0.1% chance of happening, it's important to investigate. So great question. Thank you for that. Next in the box is Juglug. I think I speak for a lot of people when I say this bull run has been extremely underwhelming. Don't get me wrong, 30% year-to-date returns is great. But with everything going down on with Bitcoin, it's a huge disappointment. We hear almost daily about how ETFs are dumping billions into Bitcoin and treasuries and wealth funds, and how the Bitcoin-led and exchanges is dropping fast, yet we can't even hold 126,000. We can't even break 1% above previous all-time highs before getting manipulated down. It seems impossible to me that we could have a blow-off top with the amount of manipulation there is, on a weekly basis. And on top of that, gold added 10 trillion to its market cap this year, and Bitcoin has barely added 500 billion. This is getting ridiculous at this point. Please tell me I'm missing something, or I'm being overly paranoid. More paranoia, ABP, always be paranoid. Good. Everybody's thinking the right way. Very happy, very happy. First of all, let's have some perspective. This is the chart since 2022, no, actually 2023, of Bitcoin versus gold, and basically the Bitcoin bull market. Bitcoin's up 7.4x, gold is up 1.3x. Okay. Everybody is fascinated by gold because it's normally a very stodgy asset, but this year it's been on fire because fiat is imploding. We'll talk more about fiat imploding later as well. But what happened this time around is everything happened earlier. That's what people aren't aware of. Also, it's a much bigger asset. It has much bigger flows. Retail cannot move the needle on Bitcoin, not by any stretch. When you have 5 billion coming into ETFs every week, do you think retail can come up with that $50 a week? That's hundreds of millions of people to make that happen. And I know the allocations are made by hedge funds and pension funds, et cetera, but that's a separate issue. But the performance has been quite splendid. So if you have gold envy, don't. Remember, every dog has its day. Some things run at a specific point in time, and you can't fathom that. But there's a couple of things that have happened too in this cycle. First of all, I think about 4 months ago, I did say mistakenly, I made a mistake. Well, I didn't make a mistake. I said, historically, the whales only sell this much Bitcoin. So they're pretty much done selling. They're 80, 90% done selling. I was wrong because they had more to sell, and they did sell those in September. And you can see since March 2024, whales with the holding between 1 and 10,000 Bitcoin, that's not 1,000 Bitcoin and 10,000 Bitcoin, have reduced their balances by 324,000 Bitcoin to 3.5 million Bitcoin. And humpback whales decreased from 391,000 down by a ton, 391,000 Bitcoin. And since the total 2024 peaks, 715,000 Bitcoin has been distributed by large players. That's a lot. Now, in the last year, Michael Saylor gobbled up 388,000 of that, 715,000 Bitcoin? And the ETFs did almost equivalent as well. So what the whales have dumped has been gobbled up by what I call the sharks now, which are the treasury addresses, not retail. So it's been absorbed. But I still maintain it's unlikely the whales are going to sell more until we get a lot higher, like 150K or so. We have to wait and see. So that's one thing that's different. Whales have sold more. And remember, the asset's a lot bigger. It's not hitting 10,000 or 100,000, is going higher than that. And if you have a big bag of 1,000 Bitcoin, you're going to take some off the table. And that's exactly what happened. A little diversify. Also, this is what has lulled people to sleep too, and why they're frustrated. Bitcoin volatility is at historic lows, more than any prior cycle. We had little periods of quietness. If you look at the green little rings at the very bottom of this chart, they are very low volatility times. We normally get maybe 1 or 2 or 3 a bull run. We've already had 4. And the period from April to August 2025 was the stodgiest, most unvolatile period ever in the history of Bitcoin. No past cycle ever saw this at all-time highs. Boring? Yes, it is. But every low volume regime ends bullish if history repeats. Or maybe this cycle is different. I don't know. But every single time you get those green boxes after a quiet period, and that's when things kick off. We haven't had that yet. Yes, we got a kick in the teeth on Friday. But here we are. We survived, and we're back. And let me just check on the Bitcoin price, actually, in case it's going even more wild. It's funny when you don't refresh your trading view since yesterday, and you come back and you see the prices are up, thousands of dollars. Bitcoin's 114,600. It's moved up $4,000 today. not bad. We'll take that. We'll take that. So that's the other reason why people are kind of frustrated. It's like, oh, there's nothing really happening. Yeah, well, it is different. And the other thing is Treasuries and ETFs. In 1 year, the last 12 months, Saylor bought 388,000 Bitcoin, and ETFs are buying billions every week and accelerating. If you look at this chart, from the beginning of the ETFs to now, the last 12 months, they've pumped in $46 billion, and it's accelerating as well. Of course, Bitcoin is more expensive now, so it takes more to move the needle. But now we're seeing the fiat implosion, which we'll talk about later too. So in summary to your question, and by the way, if you're frustrated with a 7.3x, you know, I don't know if anybody can make you happy, but in short, you are correct. It's underwhelming because of the lack of volatility, sky high expectations, and a shift to the more sustainable growth from a stronger asset. It's an asset class. ETFs are here, treasuries are here, etc. But Bitcoin's time is not over. I believe it's just getting started because we have macro tailwinds still ahead of us, including 2 more rate cuts as well. So quick summary, historic flows up, historic whale selling higher than ever before. Low volatility makes us feel underwhelmed. Retail sky high expectations, everybody expecting to make a 10x. Remember, we're 7.3 already. Okay, so another, if it bumps to $155,000, that's your 10x right there. Massive shift to more sustainable growth, which is good. You know, I think as Kathy Wood says, the longer the chop, the bigger the pop. I am making my own version of that. She doesn't say that exactly verbatim, but that's my version. And adoption, supply dynamics, etc., are stronger than ever before. And I believe Bitcoin's time is not over. So hold on tight. We still have to chase gold and other things out there. So hang in there. Next question from Mataru. In the last 5 years, if you measure Tesla and Bitcoin, Tesla's down 91%. That's not correct, by the way. I'll show you the exact number because I did check all these numbers. NASDAQ is down 78% versus Bitcoin, S&P down 84% versus Bitcoin, and home prices are down 87%. The average CAGR for Tesla over the past 5 years is 38%. It's actually higher than that since inception. And the average CAGR for Bitcoin over the past 5 years is 63%. Even if Tesla has a great next 5 years, how do you justify owning it over Bitcoin? The debasement trade is real, don't you think? I'd love your perspective on why you would rather own Tesla over Bitcoin under these conditions. Is it only for diversification? First of all, you know my portfolio. I share it every single week. My exact allocations, every dollar, every move. And you would know exactly how I'm allocating. But I did make a video on the 4th of July. I've shared this slide so many times where I said, Tesla's going to smoke Bitcoin over the next 5 years. And people thought I was mad. Well, it's already 3x outperformed Bitcoin over the past year and 3 months. So I'm pretty good at estimating where things go. But let me shed some color on as to why. If we look at the actual performances, here we are. Tesla is down 8.6% since 2020 in Bitcoin terms. That's the real number. Tesla CAGR about 49% since inception, Bitcoin 58%. So yes, Bitcoin's a faster horse, but it depends on the time you look at. NASDAQ 75% against Bitcoin, S&P 80% against Bitcoin, and medium US home value dropped 85% in Bitcoin terms. So yes, Bitcoin has destroyed many assets. But why? Why am I bullish on AI? Okay, so first of all, AI is going after a $50 trillion total addressable market. That is salaries, wages, etc. And the AI market is projected to grow from 390 billion in 2025 to 3.5 to 4.8 trillion by 2033, with a 37% CAGR, creating over 22 trillion in economic impact by 2030, which will surpass Bitcoin's total market potential. This is why I play AI, but I play both. But I also believe if you look at everything, you got to balance risk and reward. And with that, I do believe, and I'll stick with these numbers, and I'm happy to be wrong in either one because I have both. So I don't care. But Tesla versus 2030, 2032 target. Tesla's going to be $400, projected to reach 8,000 by 2032. That's a 20x multiplier. Focused on AI, AGI, robotaxi, and Optimus automation. Optimus will be the biggest product ever to hit the planet. Bitcoin 2032 target, $1 million. It is at 115. It's actually 115,000 right now, give or take $200. It's at 114,789 to be precise, and that's an 8.6x multiplier, fueled by scarcity, adoption, and ETF flows. So you have a 20x versus an 8.6x, and if I had to tell you right now what I believe is riskier, what could go to zero faster, you know the answer to that too. I believe if there's a double spend problem or a quantum hack or any of that stuff, or knots versus core have a big fight and fork the chain, boom, it will have a huge impact. Is Tesla going to fork their chain? No. That's the difference. Now, one other thing too, I want the way I look at this stuff. Real simple. I've mentioned this before, but I'll say it again. Bitcoin is the ultimate hedge against debasement with fixed supply and adoption. And Tesla, with all the stuff that they have going on, powers innovation with vast growth potential. Again, we're talking $50 trillion total addressable markets. That's what they're going after. That's why the price targets I show you in a few minutes will be mind-blowing. Hold both balances security and growth, but Tesla offers unmatched upside. I've said this for years now, and I'll stick to it. Again, people think Bitcoin is the best, hardest asset. It is the hardest asset, but it's monetary. And I made a video a few months ago about the TAM sizes of both Bitcoin and Tesla, and the TAM sizes of AI and money. Check that video out. It is mind-blowing. And you'll quickly get an idea of where I'm coming from. Next question. We've had so many questions this week regarding leaps. When to buy leaps. So I'm going to break it down in simple terms. I won't even read all of these, but you get the idea. Big thank you for my wife and I. I've been following you for 4 years, and we are retiring this year in large part due to your great non-financial advice. Woohoo! Excellent. My question is that I would like to purchase more Tesla leaps. What rule of thumb do you use to determine? Next one, Daniel R. Long-term YouTube viewer and recently Patreon supporter. I have a position in Tesla of 100 shares. I want to increase the position. My doubt is to buy purely stock or buy a leap. And more leap questions. Juan T, 50 shares, 50 leaps, etc., etc. What do I buy? When do I buy? Tommy had the same question. And more as well. Let's go L and Roger M. No exposure to Tesla yet. Should I buy stock or should I buy leaps? Let's get into it. And in full disclosure, I went shopping on Friday. I was waiting for $400 on Tesla. I said, I didn't buy since I think 3:30 or something like that. And Friday was the first time I had a nibble. Not a big position, but a nibble nonetheless. Let's break down a simple example of why leaps are so powerful. And you will recall me being very excited when there was EDS and Tesla price crashing down very low, like 106 and stuff. But I own a big bag of these. These are the Tesla $140 calls, and they expire on 12/18/2026, 432 days from now. They are now trading over $300, and I bought them for less than $2,500 not too long ago. Okay, now they're $30,000 a contract, because remember, each contract is 100 shares, so you can do the math there. They've 12x'd already, and there's 432 days left to expire. This is the power of leaps. If I had bought just the equity, I'd have 3x my money. I buy the leap by 12x, but you need the price to go up. And if you also knew what I did behind the scenes here in this, it would be even wilder too. But let's do a little experiment. So I went and looked at the most active leaps, strikes, and expiration on Friday. And we're going to run some numbers against these positions to see exactly what's happening. So you see, this is the most active leaps, the number of contracts. Somebody bought a truckload of 780 strikes, which expired January 15th, 2027. The 2011 contracts, somebody else, probably the same person, bought the 880s, 2005 contracts. And then the $700 strikes, 1,058. Everybody is going nuts buying these out of the money contracts. I'm going to analyze each one of all of them across different price scenarios. Now, first, I'm going to show you my super sandbag price prediction model based on the Elon Musk compensation plan. As I said before as well, never before in history have we had somebody lay out a 10-year plan which is tied to price, market cap, and things that are, I believe, all achievable with some very good execution. And these are what I call my super sandbag Tesla price targets given the comp plan. Wild. Now, things don't really start kicking off until 2028, 2029. Although 2026 is going to be extremely bonkers and 2027 absolutely off the hook. But it takes time for the prices to reflect in the stock because you have the Wall Street analysts who take their little pencil and they put the little earnings per share in the little box and they look backwards. They don't look forwards. They don't know what's coming. But this is what's coming. And you can go to anybody out there. You go to the Cern Bashers of the world, the Joe Bacties, etc. Both 3 years ago, I made a video, 8 ways to 8,000. And again, I was laughed out of the room. Now everybody has $8,000 targets, at least, or 10,000 or 12,000 or more. So again, it's important to think about the price and then help you determine what strike to buy. Does it make sense to YOLO into 880 strikes? We'll cover that right now. So what I did was create a little spreadsheet and different price targets. 656 price target. Again, super sandbagged, super bearish. But what would happen if you bought the 780 and 880 calls, 700 calls, the 960 calls? You lose it all. Somebody's buying 960 calls for $23. Again, if it goes to 1,000 real fast, yeah, you'll do well. But it's so far out of the money. It's kind of crazy. So you'll see as well, this is the ROI on the very right-hand side. The title is cut off, my bad. But you can see how much you make. So if you look at price going to 656, you look at the most active leaps. The winner here is your December 18th, 2026, $450 call. Again, you're not going too far out of the money to maximize your ROI. What happens if price goes up? 700 price is achieved. And you can see here, the winner is still the 450 call, 159.82. 4 of them are a complete total loss. Let's look at the $800 price target achieved. Again, you still have losses for things that are out of the money. You make a tiny little bit on some, but you lose on others. And again, the winner is now the December 18th $500 call, 271.52% ROI. And let's go a little higher. Let's go $900 price target achieved. Again, you still have a total loss on the 960 call, and the 880 call makes a fraction, but you still lose 33%. And the rest you make money on. But the winner here, again, very tight between the $500 call and the $600 call. $500 call gets you 395% return on investment, and the $600 call gets you 388. But even at those, compared to the price now of, say, $400, price goes to $900. You can do the math. Is it better off to buy a leap or just buy the stock or buy the stock on margin? And to summarize this, the way to play is, again, look at the strikes. And I show you the rules that I use, unless it's a crazy situation. But here, if you have your target range, your scenario of the price, like are we going to 657 or 701 or 801 or $901? The best ones to buy all the time from the most active calls are $450 to $500, depending on how bullish you are. If you're going higher up on price, you can go out a little bit higher in strike to get better returns. Now, the rules of thumb I use for leaps, and I've spent my life buying leaps. I've been doing it for more than 30 years. Best risk reward zone. You can maximize convexity while avoiding total loss at 700. You go at the 450 to 600 range. But my rule, always buy, if you can, at least at the money or a little bit in the money when possible. And at very, very oversold conditions, for example, Tesla falls to $106 because of some Twitter fear and you had to sell shares, dump the price down hard. Then you go absolutely ape and you can buy out of the money. If the stock's at 106, you can buy 140, 130 calls, because you want to maximize your spend to get as much exposure as you can. But when we're in this situation, you should always buy at the money or a little bit in the money, and always compare that as well to your price target and looking to the, if you just buy on margin 50% down. Oftentimes you do not want to spend a lot of money on time. So again, and it's also dynamic. These prices will change tomorrow when the market opens. Next question from Bitcoin Maximalist. I've heard that millions of Tesla vehicles equipped with hardware 3 will not be compatible with FSD version 14.1. An upgrade to enable compatibility would be possible, but would require over 6 hours of labor, along with the installation of new cameras, microphones, more processing power, and memory. The upgrade would likely incur significant costs for customers. Could the situation lead to challenges for Tesla if dissatisfied customers express their concerns or demand for refunds or transfers of FSD licenses to new vehicles and potential legal action similar to past disputes over hardware promises? Great question. By the way, wow. Since I started, Bitcoin just shot up $1,200. That's just big move. Anyway, that's the good juju here in the audience. Let's talk about what we've heard. We did hear Elon Musk say, if you have a hardware 3 vehicle and you purchased full FSD, I did that 6.5 years ago. I purchased full FSD out of the gate, no questions asked, and it's an AI3 vehicle. So they will give me a free upgrade if and when I want it on my Model X. But let's look at exactly the statistics of what we're dealing with here. So there is some hope for hardware 3 owners. And I know hope is not a strategy, but the older vehicles still are on version 12.6. I have one of those. And the hardware 3 does have a more limited compute power, can't handle as many parameters, and upgrades have slowed to FSD. But the FSD on hardware 3 still works really, really well. And again, I can vouch for that. Hardware 4 is very advanced with a lot of parameter capability, memory capability, resolution of images, and all that good stuff. So it is a different kettle of fish. And remember, if you look at Moore's law and the pace of development of chips and inference and everything else, it was all going up. So the stuff they built 6.5 years ago, you can't expect it to be as powerful as today. Now, the hope is not a strategy. He did confirm that if hardware 3 cannot achieve unsupervised autonomy, those that paid for it will get free hardware retrofits, maybe AI5. We're not sure. No data set. If you didn't buy the full FSD, you are SOL, but maybe they'll comp you or give you a deal on transferring or whatever. But if you have FSD, they'll give you the hardware upgrade. We'll see. But maybe you want a new car anyway. I don't know. No data set, but there's lots of things. And hardware 3 is aging. But Tesla has pledged for a way forward once full autonomy arrives. So don't give up entirely, but we shall see exactly what happens. Next question is regarding fiat, and probably indirectly or directly, why gold is so hot. This is from Freedom Mom. I love that name. Hi, James. I would love to know your thoughts on de-dollarization. It's a big concern that Saudi de-dollarize and the BRICS nations, then the USD will free fall, which is more than likely. Saudi is currently in the pilot stage of their central bank digital currency. What are your thoughts on this? My concern is that even when Tesla skyrockets and the USD plummets, then it's still not going to be worth much, and we won't want to be holding US dollars. This is the current map of the countries where they are with their CBDCs. NVIDIA and Tesla are my biggest bags. What do I do? What do you think? So there's no doubt in my mind. I created a channel about hard assets and the importance of dealing with debasement 5 years ago, because I saw the writing on the wall. It's no surprise that nobody wants fiat. Fiat is a melting ice cube, and it's catastrophic. All fiat is toast. I should have had AI create a little bit of fiat going into a toaster. And somebody's going to create that, by the way. I'm going to see it later on Twitter or on Discord. It's hilarious what people can create nowadays. And I love them all. I love the memes. But all fiat is toast. There is no confidence in fiat money. If you listen to Ray Dalio, he's been ringing the alarm bell for years, and now he's got next level ringing the alarm bell, fourth turning, all that talk. It's happening. The rate of debt accumulation on the planet is insane. The money printing is insane. Debasement's coming. And yes, when we go back and look at our Tesla chart like this, you'll see a Tesla stock price in 2035, $30,000. What will $30,000 a share be worth? A pail of blueberries at Costco? I don't know. No, it won't be that bad. But remember, it's all like a zero-sum game. So we're all in the same boat here regarding this. But a couple of things regarding fiat. Global confidence in fiat is in the toilet, especially the US dollar and the euro, etc. They're rapidly deteriorating due to very high structural debt, political misuse on the dollar side, and emerging digital alternatives. And we have this crazy debt and inflation spiral all across the board. I think I posted something yesterday regarding grocery inflation. It's to the moon. Absolutely out of control. US national debt is like over $37.5 trillion now. Continuous money printing, nonstop loss of purchasing power. So you're right, that is coming. That's why you need to have hard assets. And the world also, all at the same time, is moving away from fiat and moving to hard assets like gold. That's why gold. Now, there is one little saving grace for the US, and sometimes I believe the current administration are very lucky because they see what's happening with fiat and they understand money. All the people like Besant and Ludwig, they understand capital markets. They understand global foreign exchange and trade and debasement better than probably anybody. So they understand the importance of stablecoins, which dovetails nicely into a pro-government, pro-Bitcoin type of situation, which is beneficial for us too. But according to Besant, I believe he knows this, and stablecoins are the lifeline for the US dollar, at least a temporary one, because US dollar peg stablecoins like Tether and Circle are extending the dollar's reach by digitizing it for crypto trade and global payments. And they buy a ton of US treasuries. You could call it artificial demand for US treasuries, but remember, $350 billion worth and growing. I think the stablecoin market cap grew 16% over the last 6 weeks. It's going to help them tremendously balance and be the lifeline for the dollar, at least for a little while, until everybody goes into hard assets. Either way, you're prepared with your assets. Yes, there will be debasement. Yes, food and real estate and all that stuff will get more expensive, and car insurance and vehicles, unless they're Tesla. They're finding a way to make them cheaper all the time. I don't know how they do it. But other than that, you will have hard assets and you'll be able to ride the wave. And I do expect debasement to go from 14% to maybe as high as 20% per year. But your hard assets will far outperform that. So you'll be just fine. But thank you, Crypto Mom, for the Freedom Mom, for the question. Next question is from Kurt H. New to Patreon, quick thanks to you and your team for sharing your wisdom and experience with us. My pleasure. Regarding MicroStrategy and its recent weakness in comparison with Bitcoin, I noticed that BlackRock owns about 5% of MicroStrategy, as well as some other institutions. If I'm putting myself in BlackRock's shoes, am I not creating more competition for myself by investing in MicroStrategy? If BlackRock's goal is to accumulate control of more Bitcoin /WEF, wouldn't they benefit from closing their MicroStrategy position and just buying Bitcoin with those funds, which would also slow down the Saylor accumulation? Great question. Great question indeed. First of all, this is a fallacy. A lot of people say, oh, Vanguard, they won't let you buy Bitcoin ETFs, but they have a lot of MicroStrategy. Why that? Well, they actually don't. So if you imagine firms like Vanguard and BlackRock, they have a ton of passive indexes. These are like ETFs, like BlackRock iShares, S&P 500, BlackRock iShares, Russell 1000, all this type of stuff. S&P 500, of course, doesn't have MicroStrategy yet, but all the other funds that they have do. And this is why it's included, because it's market cap based. And they also have technology and software and everything else that would be included there as well, all these different funds. And that is how they have MicroStrategy shares. In addition to that, BlackRock and Vanguard do not own MicroStrategy in a controlling or proprietary sense, but sometimes it belongs to other people's retirement accounts or direct holdings or 401ks or index funds or other investors. And these asset managers act as fiduciaries. They don't hold it. BlackRock isn't investing their own capital in MicroStrategy. It's basically customer funds. So hope that helps. Next question is from Hudson the Dog in the UK. Thanks for all you do. 63-year-old living in the UK. Have more than the retire on vid regards Tesla shares, but want to become a whole coiner. Would you swap most of your Solana bag if it goes to be a greater value than the money required to become a whole coiner? This would leave me with no Solana. What do I do? So, again, like I said earlier, why not both? Like Tesla, Bitcoin. Same thing here with Solana. Solana's the leading crypto out there, layer one, despite the pricing of other things being much higher, like Ethereum and XRP. But, most hated assets, most undervalued assets, that's kind of what we do here. Let's just look at Bitcoin versus Sol. Bitcoin is more than 20 times the market cap of Solana, and Solana does infinitely more than Bitcoin across the board. But because I'm a data-driven investor, something is off, and eventually cream will float to the top. Valuations will make sense. But some of these numbers are extreme. And I know Bitcoin's a store of value, but I also know this Solana thing could one day control the NASDAQ and other big exchanges and internet capital markets. But, it is insane. A DEX volume, 800,000% more. Fully diluted market cap of TVL, 3,000% more. Fully diluted market cap of commits, 3,500% more. Devs, 3,500% more. Fully diluted market cap of daily active users, 13,000% more. Solana is insanely cheap. Okay. Insanely cheap. It's basically cheaper than NVIDIA on a PE ratio basis. So the play, I believe, it's important to have both. We don't know when the cream will float to the top. We don't know if Bitcoin's going to explode. I do know, though, that of all crypto, Solana is very, very heavily undervalued. And let's see if it's moving today. I know the recovery is in play. Solana's up 12% today. Just shot up $20. Again, it got the hell beaten out of it on Friday, but that's just how things work. But I think when I talk about whole coinership, which I have done since 2017, it's an aspirational goal to get people motivated. I used to tell people if they have 2 coins, buy 1 Bitcoin each for $3,000 for each kid, lock it away, and see what happens. All those people I told that in 2017, they come back to me today and say, is it too late? Anyhow, have both. Equal proportions, it's my game. And they both have different purposes and use cases. Wait for Solana to pop. And if you want to try get to more whole coinership, go for it. There's nothing wrong with that. But keep an eye out for the future. And again, all assets can go to zero. Remember that too. Next is from user 28. Hi, James. With the Solana ETFs coming soon, I asked Grok and ChatGPT which cryptos in the Solana ecosystem were undervalued relative to their revenue and therefore had the highest potential for big moves. I got 2 very different lists. See below. Grok said Sanctum, Marinade, Gito, and Jupiter. And ChatGPT said Camino, Jupiter, Drift, Radium, and Marinade. What would be your list? Is an easy question. So I like the dominant dApps that generate a lot of money and have a lot of users. So I like perp dexes because they make a lot of money. Jupiter and Drift, and also like dexes like Orca and Radium. And if you compare my choices to theirs, actually it's kind of similar. Jupiter is on the Grok list, but it depends on what Grok you're using. There are many versions. And Jupiter and Radium are on the ChatGPT list. That's interesting. So Orca smoked Radium, by the way, in the yesterday's video. So it all depends on what you want and where it is. And all these things are, of course, risky. And favorite part of the week, this week we donated to primarily primates to help them build a new home for their 4 new chimp residents. Woohoo! By the way, there are some days I'd love to be able to live with those guys in exactly that residence. I'd be very happy. Tomorrow, DC Live with a new guest, our very own G De Niro will be joining us too. It'll be a fun show. And we're going to talk about what happened on Friday and some crazy conspiracy theories and some rules of the road. And if you are playing in crypto, and don't forget, I hope you all got smarter during this video. I'm going to do some live questions right now. That was the epic story. And I'm watching the stock price as well at the same time. Let me go pull up the questions. And once again, thank you to our brilliant moderators. Hey, got the questions. Oh, I have a survey too. Hold on a second. Did I see a survey? Survey. Oh yeah, the moderators are so good. They actually replicated my survey I had on Twitter. V-shaped recovery. We had over 2,000 votes live. 60% believe in a V-shaped recovery. 27% say 2 to 4 weeks. That is nearly 90% of you are bullish. Only 6% of you think the bull market's over, and 7% of you think patience is required. Thank you so much for that. Brilliant work. First question is from Doc Intern. With the recent crash in Tesla earnings and shareholders vote coming, it is possible we get less than 400 sell the news buying opportunity. And if so, when do you expect it to happen? Thank you to you and your team. The price of Tesla in after hours just broke 400. So it's like 396. Tonight, in approximately, Doc Intern, 3 hours and 17 minutes, the market's open and we'll be able to see. I'll make a post on that in Patreon as soon as the real-time price comes out. It could be a bounce. Basically, it's always the same. When there's cataclysmic news from the unpredictable US president, he plays hardball first, and the Chinese, they are very good at hardball if they even know what it is. They hit back harder. And then it's all blown up. And then they both say, you know what? I need to sell you soybeans. I need to sell you this. You need your rare earths. And they'll figure it out, because without cooperation and global trade, they're both toast. And they both know this. So what happens is it's all bluster. And then it's like, okay, calm down, guys. Let's figure something out. And that's exactly where we are. So whenever there's a burning building or an explosion like this, I run into the burning building. So I did grab a little Tesla yesterday or on Friday, because I was 2% off my target, and I don't care about 2% because I know where the price is going. I just want to continue to stack as much as I can while I can, at a much lower pace than I was, by the way, over the last couple of years. So I'm now at the nibble stage. I'm not going buying a bunch of contracts all on the same day. So I think we could open up under 400, but I don't expect us to stay down there that long. I mean, look at the videos for FSD 14.1. All the folks, AI driver, dirty Tesla, Omar from Home, Mars Catalog, they're blown away. They can't believe it. They said it's already sentient. They said it's godlike, etc. And these are people that know FSD. I don't have it yet. Only a very select few have it, but it's pretty incredible. And you could buy a car cheaper than a Toyota that drives itself. It's wild. Using that word wild again. Here we are. It is wild. I'll use it. So hang tight. If we get under 400, like 396, 399, 402, 406, that's all a good price. Don't quibble over a couple of dollars when you're buying something where you have a roadmap to where the price is going. It's never happened before. Never in my wildest years. Bookhorn, thank you, James and stuff. Thank you, Sue, too. Sylvan Muster, thank James for everything you do and this community. Every day, I love and appreciate your work and the team from behind. Thank you, the team in Switzerland. Hello, my friends. Grüezi wohl. And Alex Rogan, good evening from Lauterbrunnen. Very nice. Got people all over the world. He is in Australia. Adam Q, also in Australia. Are you concerned the AI surge is a bubble? I'm not seeing many of these AI players make a profit and lots of circular investments in each other. So, great question, Adam Q. There is a lot of circular investments, but you've got to understand NVIDIA has an embarrassment of riches. They have to deploy their cash, and they're hedging their bets. So they're integrating, or they're deploying into the whole AI value chain. And I covered a piece in Tesla Bulls on Thursday that I call the AI value stack. I'll share it again on Patreon later. It's very important we understand where the players play. But as Jensen says, all the money is in the value layer, the app layer, the activity layer, where the rubber meets the road, where the thinking happens. So that's so important. I believe when you come to the LLMs, like we saw what happened with Grok Code and Grok Code Fast, Claude was the leading code LLM out there. Within 2 weeks, Grok wiped it from being a dominant 70% share to like 12, 13%. That's how fast things move in the space. I think, as usual, winner takes most. There will not be 10, 15, 20 successful LLMs. There'll be one that does all the heavy lifting, and there'll be a few little point solutions around, and they'll all lose money and go out of business or be consolidated into some bigger mothership as well. In terms of the semiconductor makers, like the NVIDIAs, NVIDIA is trading at a P of 32, 33. And they have infinite demand for what they have. And they have a new G300, which is after their B200. I think Microsoft already started putting them in place in data centers. That's going to be fine. But the other ones that run around the periphery, no, bubbles. If you look at the electrical companies and the companies that make gas turbines and all those players, infinite demand until 2030 and beyond, because data centers will continue to be built. That's not going to slow down for a while. So yeah, there will be point bubbles, but the leaders, that's why I am absolutely always obsessed in being in the winners. I don't dabble with second best ever. I pick the best layer one. I pick the best AI play. Pick the best hard asset, Bitcoin. Pick the best semiconductor, NVIDIA. That's the way I do. The best proxy, early. You know, it's easy. I'm Colt. Will you do a macro update soon? Always enjoy those. Yeah. So I used to do macro videos and real estate videos. Nobody watches them. But you know what? Why don't I do a macro real estate one combo? Maybe that'll be interesting. But yeah, the macro is phenomenal and things are melting fast. So actually, what will be interesting is a macro AI twist video because they're very connected. In fact, AI can save macro. That's an idea. Thank you for the inspiration. I am Colt. Brilliant. And thank you for your super sticker, Martello45, Signal 103, Bottle of Red, Dog1, Anjo, and Long-Term Holder. Appreciate you all for coming. My friends, Nagesh, DBF430, and Angle Blackson, Long-Term Holder. Thank you so much. And have a good night, everybody. See you tomorrow morning, bright and early, with bushy tails. And before I sign off, wow. Bitcoin's now up $4,500 and Solana up 12%. So things are recovering. Looks like that V-shaped thing is happening. It's a good day. Anyway, I hope nobody got hit with perp trading, because remember, never more than 1% of your portfolio in a perp, never more than 3x leverage. If you do that, you can't be touched by the market makers. But we did see some weird things happening too at some assets. Thank you all for coming. Have a good night. See you tomorrow.